is going to highlight that to be a complete runner, you have to just log more than miles. You can't just expect to run fast and be injury free if you don't have the fundamental principles to do that. And that's comes about with strength, and it's run specific strength. So not all exercises are created equal. And the easiest saying is you can't fire a cannon from a canoe, and that is a big piece of core strength, and it comes from two standpoints. So if we look at the stride of generally how most people run, which is with that overstriding, and we have this person come through, and when they go to push off, this is the exact thing that I'm talking about. You're going to be subject to my wonderful drawing of a cannon, and really what's going to happen here is this whole leg is going to fire the cannon, and it's going to push off. But if you're not stable from where you're pushing from, which is your core muscles, your abdominals, your pelvic floor, your hips, your lumbar stabilizers, you can't fire this cannon from a canoe. You can't be weak up here and expect to get a great push off. What happens when we're weak up here is that when we fire this calf, we fire the calf, the glute, the quad, they need a stable base to pull from or to push from. And that's the canoe versus a battleship. We need to be strong up here so that when we push off, all of our force goes into the ground, and then instead of when we push off, we have our low back, moving, our hips are dropping from side to side. So we need to make sure that we have good strength. And as we come to push off too, it's not just doing crunches. Crunches are a top-down exercise. We need to control from the lower abdominals. They need to pull up strong here so that when this hip extends backwards, those lower abdominals pull to stabilize. So what happens for most runners is that they're really weak, down in here, the lower abdominals that attach to the pelvis, as they go to push off, and you see that their low back arches as their pelvis tips forward, just like this runner. They're not strong enough pulling up from those lower abdominals, so as they push, they're just getting they're loose, they're mush up top, and they can't generate that force through the ground. So that's the first example of how most runners lack the fundamental principles to run faster, because they don't have a strong core, and this is why the strong core is so important. When we fire that cannon at push-off, we need to be strong enough to be able to be stable so that we're not dragging through other areas. And with every foot strike, not only does our foot fire the cannon into the ground, but the ground fires back. So here's another example where the cannon is firing. It's not so much that we're firing the body against the ground, but now the ground is firing back up at us. So what happens is this ground reaction force is going to push up at our body, and if we're not strong enough, what happens is that force gets transmitted up, and it just wreaks havoc on our pelvis. It wreaks havoc on our lumbar spine, because we're not strong enough to stabilize that. We have abdominal muscles that reach on and grab onto our lumbar spine. We have our abdominal muscles that grab onto our pelvis, and if we're not strong enough, as this ground comes up, it just creates a lot of shearing forces. The main thing here is that we need to be strong here. The instant we hit the ground, we need to be stable as that cannon, as it fires up towards our body, and then as we come back to push off, we can't be loosey-goosey in the hips because we're trying to generate our force. Remember, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. We need to be able to be nice and strong so that when we fire that cannon at push-off, we get as much movement down the road as we want, but also when we hit the ground, we're not all loosey-goosey and taking our joints through range of motion that it shouldn't go through. Are you looking to become a stronger, faster, and more well-rounded runner? Then jump on over to RunSmartOnline.com and take our 10-day free challenge. Try our run-specific, time-saving, and easy-access videos that let you get stronger from anywhere, whether it be at work, home, or on the road.